Hey guys, today's video is all about Rockwool, and behind me I have three of their products, the Safe and Sound, the Comfortbatt, and the Comfortboard. I'm going to talk about how I installed each one of those products and some things I like and maybe some things that I don't necessarily care about for the product, so let's get into it. Let's talk PPE first. At a minimum, I would say safety glasses and a respirator or N95 mask. It cuts really easy with the table saw, but it does leave a fine dust, almost like a, kind of hard to explain. It's like a grit slash sand, so it kind of feels like sandpaper on your skin. And for me, it's left a little bit of, not really a rash, but you can tell that my forearms are irritated by the stuff. And I think of myself as pretty resistant. I've worked with the fiberglass insulation with the ductwork and really didn't have a problem working with any of that. I worked in short sleeves, but if you're sensitive to things like that, you may want to wear long pants and long sleeves as well, and maybe even something around your neck because this stuff is going to get everywhere. A little look at some of the larger sections that we have installed. Works pretty good. You can slide it in behind your framing members pretty easily. Can tuck in behind your posts, run it around to the other side, tuck in behind your framing on your windows, and it works out pretty slick. Now for me with the Versetta Stone, we did framing down below as well, and these are pretty small gaps. So my plan, since you have to order this stuff in quantities of 20, I'm going to go ahead and get all of the full sections done all the way around, and you can kind of see some sections that I haven't done. But like this top section we're going to leave go, and these bottom little slivers we're going to leave go, and I'll try to piece all that stuff in later. So we'll get all this done and see how much product we have left before we order more. All right, we're going to cut a little bit of this stuff, and you'll see the saw doesn't even bog down. When it cuts it, it goes through pretty slick. Man, I just got to take this stuff off. It's too hot. Once I'm done cutting, I can't see. Miserable. Okay, this is one of the more complex areas here that we have to work around, so I'll show you how this works. Can slide it in. It's a little bit of a pain with all the framing members, but this stuff is a little bit flexible too. And this one is going to be a little bit tight, but that's okay. You'll get a chance to see how it works when it's maybe a little bit too snug. We are butted up against, and that's all there is to it, a nice snug fit. Let's go get one more. All right, for this piece, we're going to have to slide it behind several little obstacles. I probably could have cut these just a little bit narrower. Make it slide a little easier. There. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, the space in between my girts is not perfect all the way around the building. So I'm actually taking measurements every so often, 18 5/8, and just making sure 18 5/8 that I don't end up with a huge gap. 18 1/2, see I'm 1/8 off there. 18.5. So I'll cut one 18 5/8 and one 18.5. But that's kind of what I'm doing as I go around, and I'm going to fill these two big cavities up all the way around the building and kind of see where I'm left with material, and then we can kind of go from there. But I'll show you how to work around this stuff too. The big thing is, if you're going to have a gap, leave a gap in the middle so then you can just put piece in, because you're going to have to slide behind a lot of things. Just kind of keep that in mind as you're going. Let's get some more cut. I know it's a little bit hard to see with the glare. So for your last piece, what I do, slide it in behind your post and your window in my case. Get it nice and snug, and this one is a little over snug probably. Push it in, there you go. I will say also, while you're cutting this stuff, I can feel little bits of sand coming back and hitting my arms and my face, so it is a good must-have for the safety eyewear. Even in some of the tighter areas, I was able to get the Comfortboard in there. You just have to get creative with how to put it in there. Cut it in half, cut it in sections. I think I cut this in thirds, slide it back behind the post and behind the window framing, and then piece in the middle. So you can make it work, just got to think about it. Moving on to the Comfortbatts, this is what's going to go in between that 5.5-inch cavity in between the posts. This has an R value of 23, so with the R6 board and the R23 bat here, it gives us an R29 wall. Using a serrated knife to cut it, and we figured out that it works best to cut them in half and slide them in. If you try to slide a full piece in, working around all the framing, it kind of tears the bat up a little bit. So we cut them in half, and then they slide in between the girts really easy. And with the dimensions, and you work out the math, in between the 8 foot on center posts, you don't have to cut or shave down any of the bats. It makes a nice fit, and the measurements work out good. And you can see this is the master bath. You can slide it in around the framing. Of course, it'd be easier if we didn't have it in there, but inspectors wouldn't allow that, so we had to work around it. Last but not least, let's talk about the Safe and Sound product. We're putting this in all of our bedroom walls to help with sound dampening. So far, I have one room done. We have 10-foot high walls, so I have to stack 2 of these on top of one another, and then a partial. These are for 16-inch stud spacing. You can also get 24-inch stud spacing, and the friction fit seems to be holding really well up to this point. You get 12 bats per bag. They're 3 inches thick, 47 inches long, and it's pretty easy to install these. You're going to have to trim around anything that's inside the wall, but for the most part, it's pretty much a plug-and-play product, which is what I really like, so the install goes pretty quick. Let's get into it. For me, there's very few of these wall cavities that doesn't have anything in it, so inevitably, you got to trim around pretty much every bat that you put in the wall cavity at some point. And this is a 16 on center spacing here, so just to kind of give you an idea on how the install goes. That's really all there is to it. Now I have an electrical box here that I'm going to cut around. So that's really all there is to it, and I'm just going to stuff a little bit of this back in here. If you got 2 people working on the project, it's a little easier because you can have one person holding the other side while you put it in, but that's all there is to the friction fit there. Let's go ahead and get the next one on top. This stuff cuts just like the Comfortbatts. I'm going to cut it just a fuzz long. This is just a serrated bread knife is all it is from the kitchen. So don't tell Mrs. Barndo.
Inevitably, you're going to end up with a bunch of your stud bays that have wires running through them just for all your switches and outlets. So I thought I'd show you how I'm dealing with that. I started out trying to put a full bat in there and then cutting the bat in half or cutting a couple of the outer layers and trying to encase the wire in that. But I figured out for me the best thing to do is to just cut the bat a little bit longer than the measurement right here, and then you can pull the bat apart. And that's kind of the good and the bad about these bats. They do pull apart fairly easily. They're interwoven, so it stays together somewhat, but you got to be kind of careful. And you'll see here we can just separate those layers and then just work it around your wire, and you can encase your wire in your Rockwool, and you won't even know it's there other than the nail plate. You just work it around there, and then you can kind of push it back together once it's in there. And I did find some of these bats a little bit of manufacturing inconsistency maybe, or maybe some of the bags were handled a little rougher and smushed, but some of the bats were not as rigid as the others, so keeping them in the wall cavity was a little bit difficult on some of them. But for the most part, the install was pretty easy here. Sliding this next one in on top, and then you get a good fit there. These are also sold individually by the box stores, and most of them had it in stock, so I didn't have to wait the 3 to 4 week lead time. The Comfortboard you had to buy in bulk in groups of 20 packages, and then the Comfortbatts you had to buy in groups of 12. So I guess maybe this is their most popular product, so you can buy them each bag individually, which was nice. And that's all there is to it. We'll give you a little look at these cavities here.
And there you go. That's all there really is to it. One more piece at the top, and those two cavities will be done, and we can keep going. There you have it, safe and sound installed. The nuts and bolts real quick. Not really a lot to show, but take care trimming around your boxes and wires and your plumbing. Don't damage anything. Keep your bats a little bit wider than the cavity, at least a half inch, 3/4 of an inch, and that'll friction hold those things in there, and you shouldn't have any problem. Next video is sheetrock, guys. This is the last time you're going to see the house in this shape. It's going to look totally different the next time I see you guys. So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and I'll do a reveal when the drywall is done. We'll see you guys on the next video.